you feel you know enough about this agreement to tell whether it's a good one or a bad one?
Nah, nobody knows enough. I mean, nobody's seen it, except the people who negotiated it.
I know as much as anybody who listens to Fox Business what's in it. Obviously, there are conflicting reports.
Obviously, we want to see all of the details.
Well, some Republican lawmakers voicing frustrations over not seeing the text of the Memorandum of Understanding with Iran. We'll start there with the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, who joins us tonight. Senator, thanks for being here.
Good evening, Brett. Nice to be with you.
Special report. You know, there's a lot floating online from the Middle East about a 14-point plan. What do you know about it?
We haven't seen the details, and so, yeah, there's a lot of online chatter out there and some versions of it, but I think until the White House actually furnishes us the specific memo, that it's hard to react one way or the other. I think a lot of our members are hearing things, and obviously they're responding to that, but clearly, like anybody else, we want to see the devil's in the details.
There's frustration about this process, right? After being through everything up to this point. Is that fair?
Well, I think that's fair. I give the president great credit for having the guts and the courage to do the hard thing that no president for the last 50 years has been willing to do, and that is to degrade Iran's nuclear capability and significantly diminish their military capabilities in the region. How it winds down now is the thing we're all paying attention to, and in that respect, I think it's the old Reagan axiom: you trust but you verify. You got to make sure that we've got a good path forward here.
I don't want to belabor this because we don't have those details,
right.
But people who've been talking about a lot, like General Jack Keane on our channel, have concerns about just the money part. Take a listen.
There's a $300 billion investment fund. Who cares where the money comes from? If it doesn't come from the United States, I get that. Of course it shouldn't. But it shouldn't come from anybody. I mean, when we recovered Germany and Japan, the Nazis weren't in charge. The Japanese imperialists weren't in charge. Here, the Iranians are in charge. The killers and thugs are still in charge. They're going to take that money and recover everything.
And you're hearing that a lot from lawmakers in the building behind us.
Right, and I think that's the hard question that's got to get asked. And so there is under the law a requirement that Congress review any sort of agreement. It doesn't require that we vote on it, but I do believe there are going to be some hard questions that get asked, and a lot of it will revolve around what are the financial incentives here and what are they conditioned upon. And I think those are, at least at this point, we're seeing some anecdotal stuff out there, but we need to see the hard facts.
All right, hard facts about funding the war, understanding it may be coming to an end here in the short term, but funding what has happened and funding the Department of War. How are you going to do that?
Remains to be seen.
Is there a reconciliation package?
Well, that's a possibility. I mean, obviously, reconciliation is an option. There are pitfalls to doing that, which we can get into at great length.
But just to our people get into the weeds a little bit, you have a vote-a-rama of amendments once you go down this road.
Correct.
And to get it passed, it's 51 votes, but then you have to have everybody vote on amendments that would not be favorable to Republicans running for re-election. Fair to say? Fair
to say, and that's assuming you can win those amendments. The fear is, and this is they're talking about a $350 billion defense commitment, which I think most of us are supportive of, but a lot of our members are going to require that be offset or paid for. It is always a question of math on reconciliation. There are other ways to get at this. You can try and do it the bipartisan way with a supplemental appropriation request, and I think the administration right now is in the process of preparing that and going to submit it to Congress. So we'll take a look at that, see if there's any Democrat interest in helping.
Okay, let's move to FISA.
Yeah.
It is in limbo now. Now there is a new Director of National Intelligence nominee, and Jay Clayton. Is he going to get through this week?
I hope he gets through this week. He will get through. The confirmation hearing will happen tomorrow in the Intelligence Committee. They will report him out. We will take him up as soon as we can, but that will take some cooperation from Democrats. If they want to, they can slow walk it. They can slow it down. They can't slow it down forever. We'll get him on the floor, but if we want to get him confirmed by the end of the week, we're going to need a little bit of help. And right now, we're getting mixed signals about whether or not the Democrats will participate and help with that.
Bill Pulte was a non-starter for some Republicans and definitely Democrats in that role. Does this break that logjam on FISA?
It should, and I hope that unlocks FISA. FISA has, in an unprecedented way, gone dark, and the FISA, which short for Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, there is a section there, Section 702, which is the principal tool by which we keep this country safe. It prevents terrorist attacks. It's helped us in times of war, protects American citizens, and that program right now is, quote, gone dark. And we say that it's no longer authorized by the Congress. And so the Democrats had agreed to passing it with reforms that Republicans had agreed to. It was a bipartisan deal. And then when Pulte was nominated, they completely block voted against even getting on the bill. So right now, my view, they own this. That was an irresponsible thing to do on a program that's critical for America's national security.
But now the president is putting another stipulation. He wants his Save America Act,
Right.
which is a voter ID, although it has other provisions in it, to be attached to FISA. He had a Truth Social saying that the few Democrats, his word, are against FISA with or without Bill Pulte going to DNI as acting. What kind of deal is that? Besides, I'm against FISA if it doesn't come with the Save America Act. Full version, firmly attached to it. What do you say to the president on that?
Well, we've had the vote on the full version twice now. So the full version is 5 components, and it's photo ID, it's registration or citizenship in order to register to vote, no biological boys and girls sports, bans mail-in voting, and it does away with trans surgeries for minors, which I'm for, and a lot of us are. But that only got...
And those 5 things are fairly practical in the Republican caucus.
They are. I mean, those are things that, but we only got 48 votes. We had that vote last week on all 5 components. The only way you can get, obviously get this done is to nuke the legislative filibuster, and that is not something that we have anywhere close to the votes to do. So we've had votes. We had it on the floor. It was the pending business in the Senate for a couple of weeks. We've done everything we can to date. We'll continue to put the Democrats on record. The Democrats are voting against an issue that 80 to 85% of the American people are for, and we need to hold them accountable for that.
But the president doesn't seem to understand your math.
Yeah, and I get that, and he's very
on conversations
Right.
with him.
Yeah.
How does this go over? Because
Well, I mean,
the way he types it in his True Social post, it's pretty aggressive. He thinks you should be doing more.
And he's passionate about it, and we are doing everything that we can, but it is a function of math. I mean, we are bound by arithmetic in the United States Senate. The votes currently aren't there. We will continue to put the Democrats on the record and insist on votes on this. But if you tried to attach it, for example, to FISA, it would tank FISA. And so, we will move, once we get Clayton done, we'll move to FISA, try to get the Democrat coalition back together so we can actually pass that and put it on the president's desk. But, and we will look for votes, additional opportunities to get votes on the SAVE Act.
What about
I
housing? You've got a deal, potentially a bipartisan, bicameral bill on housing. And there are going to be people, including the president probably, who say, put Save America on that.
Well, I think he has said that. I don't think there's a bill that's come in front of us that he hasn't said that on. The housing bill, carefully negotiated, what we call 4 corners, bipartisan, bicameral, Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate. It is an issue that directly gets at the heart of the affordability question for a lot of Americans. It creates additional supply of housing in this country, makes housing more affordable. And so I'm hoping that's something, too, that we can complete, get on the president's desk, get signed into law, and that he will do that without making additional demands that on some of these bills he has been.
How much do you think it hurts in the MAGA base as you head into November that you can't get that done to Save America?
Well, I mean, I think, again, you have to, again, it's a pure function of math, and I'm sympathetic to it. I'm for it. I voted for all that stuff. Most of my colleagues and Republican colleagues in the Senate are. We haven't gotten the Democrats have block voted against it. They haven't gotten a single Democrat vote. And that's where I think you make this a campaign issue and you go after Democrats. I don't think it's helpful to go after Republicans to try and get us to do something people now know we don't have the votes to do. And we've demonstrated that now. We've had 5 votes on this.
How would you say your relationship with the president is now? He seems to be working a lot with Speaker Johnson. How would you characterize it?
It's strong. It's good. I mean, we have our pointed conversations. I express my views. He expresses his. Sometimes those get a little bit testy and heated, but in the end, we have a job to do, and we have an alignment of incentives. There are times when, for reasons of how the Senate functions, The answer isn't always yes to the things that he wants to do, but we do everything we can to work constructively with him and his team to ensure that we are moving the country forward in a way that achieves those objectives.
Senator McConnell, we're told, was hospitalized. Have you heard any word on him?
I have. I spoke to him yesterday, and he was in good spirits. I mean, he was paying very dialed in, paying attention to what's going on, and indicated that he would be back soon.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.